Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I am your host, Sleuth. Oh, that's not, I wasn't born with that name, but you can call me Sleuth. Or Patty Cakes, whatever floats your boat. Thought I'd get in a quick little live stream before breakfast. I do have my coffee. What's up, Purdue? Good to see you. Thanks for hanging out last night on Channel 2. That was fun. Sees through. Hello. Hi, Robin. Thanks, Robin. You be safe as well. I appreciate that comment. Top of the morning, Carol. It's a good question. What did happen to that gate? Looks like maybe a tree fell on it. Something back here, maybe? Looks like it fell right down here. Or maybe even when it was open, something landed on it. Ooh, blueberry bundt cake. I had the craving for blueberry pancakes the other day, and we went to IHOP. They were delicious. Hey, Melissa, Tommy Baker, good to see you guys. Legion, what's up? Good morning. Beth Gonzalez, good morning to you. Hey, D, good to see you as always. Jill, hello. Good morning. Slay the Rings, hello. So we don't have a whole lot to talk about. I thought maybe we'd talk a little bit about Jan Kendall, veteran, retired law enforcement, friend of TK, and apparently is a person they went to go visit in Vegas. So, like I said, I can't really finish any of my theories or get through them without coming to this whole Vegas situation and wondering if it plays a part. It could just be a coincidence, it could just be a trip that they had planned. They just happen to have a cop buddy that lives there, and it just by coincidence happened to be a week after a double murder that we know Kagan is loosely affiliated with. So every theory that you can start with always ends in Vegas, and wondering, is this part of the motivation? What are they doing here? Do they have anything to do with the Delphi murders? I just can't go through any theory without it leading directly to Vegas. Then you have to ask yourself, is this just a normal trip? Are they there conducting business that had something to do with the crime? Because you're trying to find out what would motivate somebody to do something like this, And the only thing that comes back to my mind is either they knew them, they were stalking them, or somebody presented a whole lot of something, whether that's money or drugs, and said, hey, I need you guys to go do something really depraved, and I will give you all of this. Good morning, Deception. Bird Blue. Peruvian 69. Good morning, Triple Crown. Stay away from the IHOP so I don't become the shape of a blueberry. Yeah, I definitely, I felt like I was dragged the whole day. I think I even went to bed early that night. Man, I drank so much coffee. I drank like the whole pot. Drank the whole pot, had a big stack of pancakes, had the farmers or the 2 eggs, 2 strips of bacon, and the hash browns. Purdue says it involved prostitution. Yeah, whatever Kagan was doing on his devices, he says that him and his father were looking for prostitutes, which is already a strange It already proves they have a really strange relationship. We're going to do cross the swords with your dad. What the fuck? That's so gross. What are you guys doing? Well, that's a good point, Slatherings. They went to Vegas, I think, in 2015. Yeah, maybe they did something then. That's a good point. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to put that image in your guys' head like that. But it was in mine, so you're going to get it too. Looking for pros in between searches about DNA and whatnot. Yeah, they're searching up, and I wondered if they're searching for the DNA because the person that they had commit the crime could lead back to them, or did they participate? I mean, it absolutely makes no sense for them to go to Vegas and to be looking up the Delphi case. It makes absolutely no sense. I mean, the fact that Kagan knew Libby is already bizarre enough. Hey, Gail. Yes, it seems Richard Allen did the murder on his own, but someone paid him. Yeah, I mean, he could have been hired. I just don't know. There's just no smoking gun right now that connects Richard Allen and the Kleins. There's nothing there that we have. But if you place all the evidence down in front of you, it points to a connection. It makes you believe that there's one there under the surface. Confirmation bias, indeed. But it's because we've confirmed that Richard Allen is most likely a huge part of the murder of Abby and Libby. Now, we also know that the Anthony Shots was a big part of the investigation about midway. So you have two things that are confirmed, right? Yes, looking for a connection between those two. Libby would be their connection, right? So they are connected. The question is, how do we connect them directly? Maybe there is no connection. Beth, hello. I think Kagan met Richard Allen at the Marathon gas station, sold him a loaded device, and Richard Allen took it from there. I think it's more involved than that. At 8 a.m., you have the Anthony Shots account logging in, logging out, two separate devices that belong to Kagan. To me, if they're connected to this crime, that is the killers right there. That is them prepping for this crime that will take place midday. They're already planning it out. Something happened the day before or the week prior, or they're under a time restriction. They're going to Vegas on the 21st. Maybe they got to have this product ready to go by that time. Did they fly? Did they drive? I think that's important. Andrew, hey, I think somebody wanted to watch a gruesome murder on film in broad daylight, but wasn't willing to do it themselves. Yeah, I agree. Now, they say that snuff movies or snuff films are a myth, and they could be. But we know that there's sick and depraved individuals out there that may want to see something like this. Just because something is super rare doesn't mean that it does not exist. And if you're involved in something like that, you're instantly implicated and could face many years in prison just for withholding the information about it. So people aren't going to go and talk about that. I'm just going to be really shocked if this whole catfishing, Anthony Shots, Snapchat is not connected. I will be really shocked. But I do have to admit, there's nothing solid connecting the two. It could just be two bad guys targeting the same person. We know Libby was adopted. We know that she had some issues, and maybe she wanted to share that with somebody. If somebody was catfishing her and was like, "Hey, I was adopted," and Libby's like, I was adopted too." Well, they can share in that, and maybe through all this catfishing, they begin to actually have a personal connection. But when you have a personal connection, the catfisher at some point has to snap out of it and be like, "Well, what am I doing here? I'm torturing myself because I can't meet this person um, in real life. They'll hate me." So then his self-hatred starts to come out. He starts projecting that, and he starts to realize how pathetic it is, makes him angry, and then he's drawn to do what he really wanted to do anyways, to hurt somebody. Has anyone ever looked into Richard Allen's finances? He couldn't be making that much at CVS. Yeah, there's a lot of weird information going on about that. They might actually have a lot of money stored away, from what I'm hearing, or from family members who may have passed away. They may have inherited quite a bit of money. What if Richard Allen was blackmailed into doing this? Yeah, I mean, what if he was catfished? What if somebody took his information and playing this whole Emily Ann 45 character, they run into a Richard Allen fake profile where he's out there catfishing, and they stumble upon him, take advantage of him, maybe get some disgusting photos of him, and sextort him. That does happen, to reverse sextortion. Yeah, a lot of these unexplained, self-inflicted people that off themselves. Once some family members and private investigators start looking into it, they find out that they've been being blackmailed and harassed and driven to do what they end up doing. So a lot of times they suffer in silence with this kind of stuff, male and female. So yeah, I mean, that is a possibility. I don't see anything pointing to that, but yeah, it's a good point. GP says maybe it's a Peru involvement. Didn't they all live in Peru or very closely, most likely drinking buddies? That's the angle that I'm taking. I'm trying to find any images in the nightlife, whether it's Logansport, Kokomo, Peru, Delphi, maybe even anywhere in between there. If they're out drinking, playing pool, hanging out, linking up after the bar scene to, a little after party. That's kind of the connection I'm looking for now, but it could be much simpler. It could be we were old neighbors. We went to high school together. We were on a softball team together. It could be anything. The problem is Richard Allen didn't have a big social media footprint. So even if he was best friends with Tony Klein, how is Tony Klein going to connect with him and show us that connection when Richard Allen doesn't have anything to connect to? There's nothing there. What's up, Cryptex? Sorry, Leslie. Corrupting your innocent mind. Hey, Jessica. What's up, Digi? Hey, Cindy. Good to see you. Too many bad apples in a small area. That could be what we're dealing with. You have somebody who's catfishing Libby, then you have somebody over here who's targeting her for a completely separate reason. I just don't think that that's the case. I mean, it could turn out to be something as simple as like a lone wolf who was just set off that day. Maybe there is no connection, prior to this. It could have just been something that set him off. We know from our interview with Julian Powell, he was interviewed because he tipped somebody in, and we got an inside look, thanks to him for providing that information of what they're asking in these interviews. They asked Julian, they said, "Hey, just tell us, man, you were out there taking photos. The girls made fun of you and you snapped, right? That's what happened." So why would they say that? And we know that Mike and Becky Patty told us that the girls like to goof around. If they saw some kind of somebody that looked a little strange, they would sneak a little video and then kind of bring it back and kind of laugh about it later, like, "Hey, check this guy out." So maybe they were doing the same thing to Richard Allen, and he just was not in the mood. His brother passed away. Him and his wife most likely aren't having a good relationship. He wants to go out to the trails. His wife or his daughter's getting married. His only daughter's leaving him. Maybe he wasn't having a good day. He could have been drunk. He could have been really pissed off, and he's like, "I'm gonna go to the Monon High Bridge, and I'm gonna blow off some steam." Not even thinking that um, it's going to be packed with people because there's no school that day. Even Julian Powell told us that. He's like, "Man, I wasn't expecting any kids to be there." Could have been the same situation with Richard Allen. I'm going to the trails. I'm going to go blow off some steam. And then here's these girls that are taking a video of him, and it just causes him to snap. Why would investigators ask that of Julian? I wonder if that's something that's caught on video there. Peruvian 69 says Kagan lived in Las Vegas after the first raid. He wanted to be a card dealer. TK loves to gamble. I don't believe Vegas was an unusual place for them to visit. The fact that Ron Logan's search warrant included digital materials, etc., tells me a film or photos were indeed likely. Well, what it tells me is that some part of the staging made it appear as if they were trying to either take photos or present the crime scene. So it seems like they have a strong feeling that they documented this, the murder, digitally. All right, let me find something real quick. I wanted to read it. I thought I put it in my folder for this live stream, but I lost it. Give me 1 second. Oh, here it is. So I asked that, what is it, Chat GP or whatever the hell it is, that AI chat system that has information all the way up to 2021. So I asked him about law enforcement and IMEI, asking for the information off your phone. And I guess it's pretty common. Yes, in certain situations, the police may ask suspects for their IMEI number as part of their investigation. The IMEI number can be useful for law enforcement in cases involving stolen devices, tracking suspects' mobile activities, or establishing a connection between a suspect and a particular device. When a crime involving a mobile device occurs, such as theft, fraud, or other illegal activities, the police may request the IMEI number for the suspect or attempt to obtain it through other means, such as contacting the mobile network operator or accessing device records. Providing the IMEI number to the police is generally considered a cooperative act in an investigation. However, it's important to be aware of your rights and consult with legal counsel if you have concerns about providing any information to law enforcement. See, and I didn't know that they were able to ask you for that information, or that they even did, but I guess that they do. If it's anything like message boards, they have multiple accounts to use to make their catfish account look legit. Yeah, they're very sophisticated with it. Um, so you have the Emily Ann 45, who is Keegan playing the part of a 13-year-old girl. So he uses this account to break the ice and to build a rapport with multiple victims at a time. So I'm sure he's spending time with that account, all the time. He's putting in the legwork. And then as soon as he has him on the hook, he says, "Hey, you should talk to my dad or you should talk to my brother. They're really great guys." But really, Kagan is the dad and Kagan is the brother. So they're talking him up, trying to corrupt the mind of these young people, slowly get him to start talking, I guess, about sexually charged situations. Um, and then you basically groom them and corrupt them into actually taking a conversation with the Anthony Shots or with some other grown man. And they kick them over to Snapchat, groom them there, and then they kick them over to Skype. There's some very bad people who have taken the time to get really good at doing bad things. Melissa says, "What? Libby was adopted?" Yeah, she was adopted by the Patties, I believe. Something like that. Yes, Jessica. You're right. Hey, Kevin. Cryptic says the connection Richard Allen Klein's may come from Peru, Indiana, from the Walker side back on 2016. That's what I think. Richard Allen lived in Mexico, which is basically Peru. It's just like a neighborhood in Peru, really. The mother lived right up the street, about a mile and a half from Tony Klein's home. I think if you take 2nd Street and you head west. And also, the brother, Richard Allen's brother in law, passed away September of 2006, and he was a big part of their family. From my understanding, it was very devastating, and he was taking care of the mother. And now that he passed away, Richard Allen's wife had to step in and fill that role. So I can see how this all could be very stressful. But it also was happening in Peru, and we know that that's where Kagan Klein was living at the time. He was communicating with Libby. So I find that all very interesting. Art says if they had a lot of money stored away, Richard Allen would not qualify for a public defender. Well, if his wife isn't going to give him any money. KK admits to having a dope distribution gig in Vegas. Well, he says he was trying. They asked him. Well, he actually. This is one thing in Kagan Klein's interview transcript that I find very interesting. This, I believe, is Kagan Klein actually interrogating law enforcement for a brief moment. He sends out these phishing questions. He says, you guys know I met that guy, right?" And they're like, What are you talking about?" And it was when they were talking about his Samsung, I believe it was the Galaxy S5, whatever his burner phone was in Vegas. He only used it for a few days. And within those few days, he already had it titled Klein Photography. He had all of his catfish accounts already built into it. I mean, it was jam packed with the shit that you would find in all of his other accounts, plus a list of fake email addresses, along with Tony Klein's information in there as well, his email address. So he said he kept asking investigators, "So you guys know I met that guy, right? You guys know I was meeting that guy for weed, right?" So he kept saying that, and law enforcement at one point goes, we don't care about that." We're more interested in why you were looking up DNA and this and IP addresses and the voice. We're more concerned about that. And I think they overlooked the fact that Kagan was there meeting somebody, or they already had a shit ton of information and they weren't concerned with that part. It seems as if they were more concerned about where this device was. They needed that device. The device that logged in at 8 a.m. is the device they needed. And I would, man, it would be very strange if that was the device that they found in the Wabash River. So yeah, that part of Kagan's transcript, it seems like he was trying to figure out what they knew about this meeting that was taking place. And that's a big part of why I think Vegas could be tied into this as far as the motivation. Why are you meeting somebody using a burner phone off Craigslist? Nobody in their right mind would do that for to try to score a deal. I mean, you would get arrested immediately. Now, maybe for prostitution, but that's not the way he made it seem. He's like, I wasn't me. He could have easily said that because they admitted to the Bunny Ranch stuff and trying to get call girls over. But no, he said he was trying to make a big money deal. Remember, half truths. So, yeah, Mandy, something along those lines. Something in the nightlife there. What's up, Don Spain? Jessica, that's what I'm thinking. I spend a lot of time trying to find some kind of evidence of a connection between those two. It's got to be there. Slathering says nobody else there seemed too worried about running into meth dealers. And who the hell? What kind of friend would hook you up with somebody on Craigslist? That shit don't make no sense. He could have went outside, found somebody, be like, "Hey, you're selling such and such. I would like to buy a large quantity." Quest, what up? Yo, Sleuth, you ever watched the documentary by Patrick Vega, Eyes of the Devil? Goes very deep into the levels. No, I've never seen it, but I'm going to check it out now. Sounds interesting. They could have been laughing. He was drunk or paranoid. He snapped. Yeah, why would they ask that question? To me, I feel like they're giving us some insight to pieces that they know that actually happened. Maybe that's why he ignored the other girls. He just didn't want to be bothered. And him kind of marching down that trail is him trying to get further and further away from, where he knows more people will be. If the Patties adopted Libby, would they have changed her name? I think they were just guardians. Rumor was that she wanted to go live with her mom. Yeah, I think they were just guardians, but I think they actually adopted Cody, right? So either way, Libby was having problems, problems at home. It wasn't your typical mother father situation. And Carrie kind of goes into that with the Lost Delphi documentary. No, JP said he didn't know schools were off that day. And I think the reason he didn't know is because his kids were already sick and they weren't going to school. So I don't think he realized that. But he told me that he didn't know that. He said he was surprised when he saw people there, kids there. Sees through says, I'm not even sure if it was anything to do with sex, but more power, anger, always felt like panic, kill to me than staged to look like a sex case. Yeah, I could totally see, and I just can't present any theory where Kagan is not involved. I just don't see it. And I think a lot of that has to do with we just don't know the connection with Richard Allen. Why did he target these girls? Was it random? That's a good point, Purdue. Why blow off steam with the kill kit? Well, we don't know if he had a kill kit. He's just overdressed, right? We don't know what he had for sure. But that is a good point. Everything points to premeditation, but hey, there could be another explanation. Maybe he's been up all night and he hasn't had a chance to change or something. Like, I don't know. Don says the only problem with him just snapping is the killer had all the tools to kill on him. I don't know what he had on him. He definitely looks like he's got some gear, some stuff shoved in his pockets, but I really don't know. We know that he most likely had a gun, right? And a sharp knife or some kind of sharp tool. GP says they can also keep your phone. Yeah, they kept James Lucas's phone for 6 hours. So, I mean, that's plenty of time for them to go through it. Can you imagine being so disgusted that you have to learn to be sophisticated at shit like this? Yeah, it's pathetic. And I think once you have self-realization about that, I think it could cause a lot of anger. Start to lash out. Yeah, it's a good point, Chopper. Gail, KK was probably lying about marijuana in Vegas, some other illegal activity for sure. Dark if he had to meet in person. Yeah, and I think he was fishing, trying to find out what law enforcement knew about that part. Because if they knew anything about that, that means that if he was there selling some kind of digital recording of that crime, of the murders, he knows that if they have any inkling about that, he's going down. Lisa says, I believe that Alan had unlimited access to multiple phones through the box that you sell your old phone at CVS. How does that work? Thank you, Miss Thang. All right, we are on. Probably hang out another 15 minutes. I'm going to pull up all the stuff I found on Jen Kendall. And like I said, he could just be some random guy who has an affiliation with Tony, and Tony's not under investigation for this murder. He just happens to be the father of a really bad person and someone who seems to be extremely creepy if what we hear from Kagan is true. Not to mention a few or a stalking charge of some sort against a child. But we haven't heard from Tony about all this. Okay, so it looks like Tony Klein posted this. Yeah, we're not accusing Jan here at all. We're just pointing out that this was their connection in Las Vegas, which could have been innocent. And we haven't found any connection between Kagan, TK, the Delphi case, and let alone if Vegas was part of some kind of motivation, right? It's all speculation. We're just throwing it out here. But this is public information. This is a good friend of Tony Klein's. I think he posted this when he went to his funeral. Here's the obituary. Jan Allen Kendall, 68, went home to be with the Lord on Saturday, August 4th, 2018, at his residence in Peru, Indiana. Jan was born on July 20th, 1950, in Peru, Indiana, to Kenneth L. Kendall and Joanna L. Kendall, who preceded him in death. On the day of Jan's passing, it would have been their 70th wedding anniversary. Jan was reunited with them for eternity in heaven. His journey to the other side is blessing not only to him, but to those that love him, as he is now at peace. Jan served in the United States Navy from 1972 to 1975. He was a member of the USS John C. Calhoun. Those were some of his fondest memories, stories, and travels. His friendships formed there have lasted his lifetime. Jan will be on eternal patrol, continuing as their fearless leader. Following his service for the Navy, Jan served others as deputy sheriff in Miami County, Indiana, from 1976 to 1996. He was a member of the Peru Manicure and served on Miami County Council 2005 through 2012. After his sheriff department retirement, Jan worked at Chrysler Corporation in Kokomo, Indiana until 2016. After his retirement from there, Jan moved to Las Vegas, where he continued to work during his winters, enjoying the sunshine and spending time with his sister Cindy and her family who reside there. Jan loved his large family. He was very proud to be the father of Braxton Kendall, Peru, Indiana, and stepfather of James Huffman, Steve Huffman, Kim Cox, Sean Cox, Josh Harrington, Sarah Briner, Lisa Ford, Araya Rollerson, Braden Webb. Additional survivors include his sister Cynthia Henderson, nephew Joshua Shepard, St. Mary's, PA. And the list goes on with family members here. Special thanks to Kim Cox and Jamie Huffman for making sure Jan was well cared for during his final days. When you remember Jan, please remember him with the wind on your face, a ride on your Harley, horse, or a beer in your hand. So there's some information on one of Tony's friends. You know, just because he's friends with this guy doesn't mean that he's some kind of scumbag. We don't know anything about him, but apparently that's the guy they were visiting in Vegas. You know, he's an ex-cop. So there might be something there. There might not be. We just don't know. But it's still very interesting. Kate List says, if JP was out there, where is he in witness description in relation to the timeline, etc.? Man in Black. Did he see out there? He put himself out there at the trails, right? Yeah, he said he was out there between like around anywhere after 3:30, around 4 o'clock. He says he parked at the Freedom Bridge. He didn't even make it to the High Bridge. He said he made it about halfway. Started seeing. He said he saw two girls, not Abby and Libby. Saw two young girls, and felt like, hey, I don't want to be out here. You know, I'm out here taking pictures, and these two kids out here. He says I didn't want to creep them out, so he took a couple photos and then he bounced. But yeah, right around 4 p.m. Optometrist Prime, what's up? Good morning. Hey, Jamie. Yeah, that's true. Slytherins, they're old. They could know each other from any place. Yeah, Richard Allen not having much of a social media presence. I mean, and honestly, that's kind of smart. If you're something that you do not appear, let's say he's some kind of cold-blooded killer and he's done this before. Maybe he was asked to do it for somebody knowing that he has experience. Now, somebody that's that cold-blooded does not want social media, right? Real criminals know not to go on social media, not to take your phone anywhere, not to do things like that. He seems like he could be one of those people. Yeah, I agree with that. Richard Allen's stepdad is wealthy. Yeah, that's what I heard. Somewhere in his family, there's a lot of money and power, but not him directly. Hey, TTM. Candace, hello. Do you know if his wife is still standing behind him and supporting him? I don't know if she's supporting him, but she does show up for all of his court hearings and they do whisper, I love yous. So I think she's standing behind him. Um, so I don't know what that situation is. It seems as if she knew he was there from the beginning, but that he spoke to law enforcement. And now she probably is under the belief that he's being set up or something, you know? But honestly, if he was being set up, I think that there would be a much better way to set somebody up than leaving an unspent bullet, you know, something that could be dismissed. I mean, why not just take like some hair, piece of clothing, you know, something with this person's DNA all over it? Why would you just drop a shell casing? So, all those people out there that are saying, oh, well, he was set up and they planted that. Come on, there's a million better ideas, better things to plant than an unspent shell that you got to argue over in court, right? Why not just a slam dunk? Why not just take some of his hair and just place it all over the bodies? You know, why would you use an unspent shell casing? It makes no sense. Have we heard anything about Alan's wife? I wonder if she knows what law enforcement knows and therefore has put distance. Well, I was checking out Thomas Frost's channel recently, and I think they were out there in Delphi and they went by Richard Allen's house, and the garage was open. And I guess Kathy was out there fixing the fire pit that they dug up. So I don't know. Maybe she's getting ready to sell the place. JL, hello. Anyone ever thought it was funny that Rick Allen was on the bridge watching the fish, etc., and Ron Logan was in Lafayette buying fish? Maybe rehearsed alibi panic. Yeah, Brad Heath said it looked like when he was describing the vehicle, he said it looked like a vehicle you would see somebody on a Saturday going catfishing. Yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't look too much into that. These older people I don't think they use the word catfishing. I think that's a younger people term. Beach Fairy is asking, do you think it's possible they follow TK and KK on their trip like they did Koberger? If not, they should have. I don't know. But in Keegan's transcript, he says, if this is such a big deal, why did you guys let me go for 3 years? And the investigator's direct response from that was, from your device, we found the largest CSAM ring in Indiana history. Like, this is a big deal. That was his response. But their official response to the media was, oh, it was a clerical error. See, so when they say, oh, some conservation officer, sometimes I wonder if they're just throwing these things out here just to kind of throw a biscuit to the media dog. You know, here you go. Give them a little quick something so they they turn around and go chew on it for a little bit, not expecting them to run with it the way we have. But we find all these minuscule details and we'll grind them out. Like, we seriously want to know what the hell is going on with this case. Not only because what happened with the victims and at the crime scene, but also the way that law enforcement is handling it all the way up to the FBI. And I'm not impressed. This is our taxpayer money going to what? An investigation where the guy that's in custody now came forward from day one, losing videotapes and corrupting hard drives with important documents on them with no backup. I don't know, guys. It's really an embarrassment if you ask me. Your opinion don't mean shit. Thanks for hanging out. We got about 5 more minutes and then we're going to bounce. Yeah, it looks like Jan Kendall was a warehouse route manager at Chrysler. So he worked with Tony. I wonder if that's how we met him. Yeah, he said he was watching a stock ticker originally. To me, that means his mind was on money, right? What up, Frank? Sees Through says if there's anybody involved, it's after the fact. So you thinking somebody that knows he did it and then helped cover him up or just helped conceal it? Because I was wondering this morning. So let's say they did know who Richard Allen was. They know he's the guy on the bridge. They just need somebody to say that's Richard Allen in the video. They just needed one person. Because, yeah, he was on the bridge, but was he on the bridge stalking the girls? Because the video was caught by Libby, and shortly after it's down the hill and then they're murdered. So, yeah, he could admit to being there. But if he admits to being there and then he has a family member going, that's Richard Allen. I mean, at that point, they could have probably searched his home. Because it's one thing to admit that you're there, and then it's another for a family member to say, yep, that's him on the video. Now, what happens if nobody comes forward? Okay, they put this guy out there. They know it's Richard Allen, and they're just waiting. One of his family members has to come forward. That way we can go and conduct our search. Because we know he was there. We know he was at the trails. He's admitted it. We have nothing on him because he's admitted and he's nullified everything that we have on him. What we need is somebody to say, hey, that's him on the bridge. If we get one person to say that's him on that bridge, we can go ahead and search him. So I wonder if that is what they were trying so hard to get, was just that little nudge. They were searching for any nudge to push that probable cause over for a judge to accept it. And when you have information like, oh, well, we have witnesses that seen him on the trail. Well, he admits to being on the trail. Well, we have another witness that says they saw him on the bridge. Well, he admitted to being on the bridge. Okay, well, why didn't he come forward? Oh, well, he did come forward. He actually came forward before most people came forward, and he even gave his IMEI number. He gave me his cell phone. And we all know from reading the explanation about how investigators use that information that it is deemed as uncooperative if people refuse to provide that information. So he is cooperating. Every piece of information that they had against Richard Allen, other than that unspent casing, he agreed to. He nullified it. They had nothing on him. But if they can get one of his family members to be like, well, I know he was out on the bridge, and yeah, that's him. He was wearing the same thing that morning. That's him. I know him. I know him anywhere. But I don't think even one person came forward and threw Richard Allen's name out there. Because if they did, I guarantee we would have had a search. because I'm starting to believe that they knew it was him from the beginning. And just like they said, oh, we let Keegan Klein go for 3 years because of a clerical error. I mean, are we supposed to believe that? We know that's not true because of the transcript. They say, look, Keegan, we let you go because we were basically had a wire, or you were under investigation, or we were using you as bait. So what's to say this whole conservation officer story isn't bullshit as well? Maybe they actually found the IMEI number on the phone that was thrown in the Wabash River, and that's what led to his arrest. Yeah, didn't they say something about his cell phone and the PCA saying there was something strange about it, the way he had his phone set up? Something suspicious about it? Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely take a look. Thank you for the recommendation. Yeah, that was definitely an excuse, Kevin. It's 5 p.m. here, and I was out today having drinks with my grandma. Sat outside, just realized I'm sunburnt. UK summer come early for once. Ooh, yikes. Yeah, here in Arizona and Phoenix, it gets really hot. One of the hottest places in the world. So we have to uh, stay in the shadows or stay covered. But thank God, I'm Latin and Native American. I got some dark skin to help me. But my wife, whew, she's bright. She can't even touch the sun. You can hear it sizzle. Yeah, Logansport, Peru area. But he drove through Delphi every day for work, from Logansport to Lafayette over at the Subaru plant. And he said that day, he's like, I can't go to work because my kids are sick. But he was already halfway, which is Delphi. And he says, well, I'm going to take advantage of not going to work, and not let my wife know that I'm going to take a little breather. He was having a stressful day, apparently. Yeah, I have an interview with him, one of my older videos, and he actually joined me for a live stream. And right at the middle of the live stream, somebody kind of busts in the room and says, hey, man, we care about you. You need to get off that live stream right now, which was interesting. WL22, wearing a jacket helps hold booze. Yeah, he could have just went out there to get all messed up and was kind of upset when he saw all these kids out there. Like, it's a Monday. What the hell are you doing here? Maybe that could have pissed him off even more. Sharp tool? Some kind of bladed tool. I don't know. My psychic brain keeps showing me that a hatchet man symbol. I never knew what that was. But every time I talk about the Delphi case, I see that freaking image. I'm not saying I'm psychic. I'm sure we all have some kind of ability, but something's telling me that I can't talk about the Delphi case without seeing that hatchet man thing. And it was so bad I had to go and figure out what it was. It's basically the logo for the Juggalos. And that shit is very prominent out there. They love the Juggalos in Indiana. Or Insane Clown Posse, I'm sorry. Juggalos are the group that follows them. It's the fan group. And their logo is the hatchet man. So I don't know why I keep seeing that damn logo. Quest, fair point, Sleuth. It's absolutely impossible discarding KK environment at this point. I'd have to question anybody who did, as their psychological and mental health are possibly causing them issues. I mean, you have to ask yourself, why do these people go out and commit these crimes? I mean, it has to be like a series of unfortunate circumstances just piling on top that just drag you out of your mind, right? I mean, how does somebody go out and commit a double murder of children? I mean, that's not just something a normal person does. There's got to be something happening. I mean, how does a family man go from just living his life to killing two people? No record, no social media presence. Everybody that knows him has pretty decent things to say about him. We have one incident that's a rumor about him threatening his wife, and it's just a rumor. I mean, how does something like this happen? Hey, what's up, Darren Barber? Good to see you again. Slay the Ring says, I've always wondered if the original judge had to recuse himself because of a tentacle. It's very possible, but if you go through all of the cases out of Delphi, a lot of them are ran by Diener. So it could be a million reasons. Somebody that they suspect that's involved could have been in a case with him prior. Maybe at some point he represented them, family member, friend. But yeah, Diener's was involved in a lot of cases, like just random cases, criminal, civil, just all kinds of stuff. His name is all over the place when you go looking up cases in Indiana or in Carroll County. Yeah, Judge Gold has been handling it quite well. The only thing that bothers me is that Nicholas McClellan has his hands full right now. And if something was to break with the floor fires, I don't know if he would invite that in. So I don't know. I don't know if he's paying much attention to Flora right now. And that's extremely unfortunate. I feel like he might be overwhelmed. And if a really good tip came in or something came across his table, he might not pay attention to it the way he should. Could be, Gail. All right, guys, we are going to get out of here. Don't forget, members only tonight. If you'd like to become a member, the link should be in the description of this video. We're going to be talking about, well, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a 30-minute call from Tim Corbett, cold case investigator, prior homicide detective. And we're going to talk with him about his findings with the floor fire, what he thinks at this point, now that he's had a couple weeks to kind of look at the case, where he's at. Then we're going to talk about killers that kind of inject themselves prior to the bodies being discovered and trying to control the narrative. We'll probably talk about these two characters, maybe even some Murdoch. And then we're going to talk about all the things that lean towards Ron Logan being guilty. We're going to do a little devil's advocate. And that was that. These are all requests made by members. So they put together a pretty good little show, and I think it'll be a good one. Tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please hit the like button on the way out. If you're part of the replay crew, just drop a comment. I'll do my best to respond. But on that note, I got to get some breakfast. My tummy's starting to growl. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.